this CC Star thing that was talked about yesterday, that's a program at NSF. I will spend some time talking to you about that program this morning, in large part also because it's an open solicitation with a deadline in 2 months, and I'll repeat that later. And I think I'll spend a little time here at Open in the 20 minutes I've got with you, thereabouts, talking about NSF. So this is a reminder of the NSF mission, which is to promote the progress of science, advance national health, prosperity, and welfare, and to secure the national defense. That last piece I often forget about. This is how we're organized. We have science and engineering directorates of various sizes in terms of budget. I believe math and physical sciences might be the largest from a budget standpoint. Speaking of budget, FY23's budget, I think, topped out at close to 10 billion, which is a new high watermark, I think, for NSF from a budget standpoint. My part of NSF, which is the Office of Advanced Cyberinfrastructure, OAC, we are both a division and an office. We're one of 4 divisions in the Computer and Information Sciences and Engineering Directorate. I don't have this number on here, but I think the budget for FY23 for size was something north of 1.1 billion. I think that's also a record number. I'll point out one other element in here that's worth noting because it's very rare, as you might imagine, that we have a new directorate get created at NSF. And a little over a year ago, the Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships Directorate was announced and formed. And they are well underway. I would urge you to Google them, NSF TIP. You'll see a different look and feel for them online than the rest of NSF, which I think is interesting. So that directorate, as an aside, is headed by Erwin Jandanjani, if I've got his last name correct. He used to be number 2 in size for a number of years. And before that was number 2 in the Computer and Network Systems Division at size. So we've got strong ties with TIP leadership as a result. This is kind of our OAC mission statement. We continue to throw around CI as if everybody knows what that means. I think I'm comfortable with different definitions that I've seen by the community and even on different floors at NSF. I would say that's a good one-line, simple description of what we're talking about with CI. In OAC, we can think of this also, these components in different ways, and we can map programs to them, although I don't have the programs mapped here. We have one or more programs that cover really every piece of this view of the components of cyber infrastructure, where it's our premise that putting these together in unison in an integrated fashion helps us advance scientific discovery, leading from observation to discovery. I was thinking about this yesterday during the PATH OSG discussions about how the project, and as the program officer for PATH, I often viewed it as an NSF project. But I think in terms of maybe this week, OSG and HT Condor and the associated services, I think it's valid to view this project as covering almost every piece of what you see here on this slide. And it's somewhat unique in that sense among the projects. Let me take a moment to recognize my colleague who is here with me, Amy Apon. She works with me on the Campus Cyberinfrastructure program, works with Rob Beverly on our cybersecurity program that goes by CICI. You also work on the software program, Amy, and I think we all help each other out really across the division. The other circle I've got there is worth noting. We have a new division director. Manish Parashar had been our division director for the last almost 5 years. He spent a year, I think, at OSTP, which allowed him to do an extra year, so that's unusual. Those are very large shoes to fill. He was a fantastic leader for OAC. Last week was the first week on the job for Katie Antipis. I met her for the first time Friday afternoon, spent about an hour with her, and this project came up. And I will tell you, she is from NERSC, if you know her. She spent much of her career in various positions at NERSC, LBL. And scientific computing, based on our 1 hour talk on Friday, is very much on her mind. I think she's going to work out great. Looking forward to working for her, and I think we'll be all beneficiaries of her leadership in the coming years. Marone showed this slide yesterday. This is a crazy busy slide. I'm not going to go over all of these elements. I decided to leave it in because mainly I wanted to point out that this is a slide that a bunch of us show in various venues. And, you know, when I think about NSF support for OSG, for HT Condor, how it goes back over 20 years in various ways and forms, it was not always the case that NSF presented what the project represents, what OSG, the compute side, the OSDF side, all of that on the same footing with our high-end computing investments. And of course, we do just that now today. So this shows a lot of interesting research infrastructure in here. The shared campus resources dots are far from complete. I think I've got a little better map on the next slide. But there are some rich resources here, both for computer science research and for scientific research. I think, you know, the way that the OAC investment portfolio presents itself today is if you're a scientific researcher in the US in need of compute resources and the things around that, there should be something on this map that works for you. So I left this one in too because I heard Julio give Frank some trouble yesterday about Miami not being on his map, and it's on my map. You guys gave me the slide, so maybe this is a more complete map. I don't know, but this is the map we use, and this is a reminder to Frank and Marone and Brian that, you know, if you want to make sure that we're showing the latest and greatest, just keep feeding me up-to-date maps. And so this is another one that I use in general talks, we'll continue to use. Now let's talk about CC Star, which has gone under different names. It's our Campus Cyberinfrastructure program. The community actually, well, up until the last couple of years, definitely saw this as a campus network upgrade program. And if you kind of go back and look at I think what by the end of the summer will be closer to 480 awards total over 12 years. The majority of those have been networking related. They've been campus network upgrades. That diagram that you can't read in the lower right is a Science DMZ architecture that ESNet made consumable and coherent for us as a community 12, 13 years ago. And we've been riding that in this program the whole time. And it's had some thematics that have never changed. It requires science drivers campus-wide to make the case for whatever you're asking for in a proposal in this program at the campus level. It requires a demonstration of a strong partnership between campus IT leadership and the researchers and educators and users on campus that these investments are meant to benefit. It also forces you to think strategically about CI on campus and to put this proposal that you're writing in that context. This is a reminder before I stop talking about networking here for the rest of this that that we have actually a very rich network fabric that we enjoy in the United States. It goes beyond our Internet 2, National R&E Network, and on the DOE side, what is arguably the best R&E network on the planet, ESNet. And it includes at the state and regional level these great organizations, and some of these are awardees in the program that help connect groups of smaller, under-resourced institutions. I think some of them will increasingly get into the regional compute area. But this is another layer of that rich R&E network fabric that we enjoy in a dedicated sense and take advantage of. This is the current solicitation, 23526. Amy and I have been quite busy this spring and summer dealing with the proposals that came in on the March 1 deadline. Those awards are being made. We've got another deadline coming up in 2 months. If you're in the room, you have not talked to us, you've got a proposal idea, this would be a really good week to grab one or both of us, Amy and me, and to talk about your idea. We're happy to provide you feedback on the fitness of your idea. What this program looks like today looks a lot different from 11, 12 years ago, where this was purely what you see in areas 1 and 3. It was campus network upgrades and some pretty cool applied network research on campuses crazy enough to allow brand new capabilities to be experimentally deployed in a production setting. It's areas 1 and 3, and area 3 to this day is supported by our sister network research division, CNS. The rest of this has kind of grown out over recent years, and I'm going to walk you through every award we've made. I'll show you in tables of the awards we've made so far in 4, 5, and 6. And other areas have come and gone in the program. We'll try things based on community feedback and what we're hearing from the community and other forms of input. These 3 have been very popular areas. Campus computing, right out of the gate in 2019, was the #1 most popular area. And here's how it's defined in the solicitation. It's a long solicitation with 7 areas. We know that. We've got some probably tightening of wording to do, and that's fine. So you'll probably see some modifications whenever we put out the next solicitation. But you are required just as in the networking area, to present science drivers. The challenge in areas 4 and 5, I think, is to present those and to map those into why you're selecting the CPUs and GPUs that you've chosen, what codes are going to run on them, etc. There's an open source theme that runs through all the areas of the program that has caused some friction actually in data storage, which I won't have time to get to. But here's some keywords that I think relates to this week. We actually have a requirement. You're not going to find this in other programs that fund compute clusters like MRI or MSRI. I doubt you ever will. We'll see. But this has been in there since 2019. And what we're requiring is that you share your campus compute resource outside of the campus. We don't require proposals to go the OSG route. And forgive me, Marone, we've spelled out the words. Sorry, well, that's not allowed anymore, but we'll probably fix that. But these are the words in there, and this has proven a challenge. I would argue for parts of the community. For other parts of the community, I think they've glided right in on this requirement. And we have in regional computing, I'll just note that one difference to look, regional computing is not just multiple institutions, it's multiple under-resourced institutions. That's kind of the key entry point for a proposal into regional. We're not looking to fund shared compute resources for multiple R1s in this area. We're looking to make investments that make a real difference for potential direct access to compute on smaller institutions for the first time. And I'll just say this as a reminder, putting a proposal into NSF is hard enough. If you've done it, you know this. If you've never done it, there's just a lot of requirements, and we add more requirements in this solicitation. This is a way for smaller institutions, just like in Area 2 and regional networking, to participate, to get the benefits without having to lead a proposal, and instead to be part of it. So I've only got a few minutes left, so I'm going to skip through the rest of this really quick. This was a new area that came out of nowhere last summer, along with regional computing. This has similar wording. Now, in my opinion, we are in a little bit more experimental space with the community. This is my opinion. Feel free to disagree. I'm very comfortable requiring 20% sharing with the community on the compute side. People should know how to do that. This is a little different, I would argue, with data storage resources at the campus level. And we can discuss that in the panel later this afternoon if you want. You can argue with me. But this is, I think this is a little more aggressive in the solicitation, more so than the other type of requirement. We've got that requirement in data storage as well. Okay, quickly, I'm going to go through this. A little bit of an eye chart. You can't read all this, although there are a couple of names on here that I think are speaking later. And there might be some other PIs in the room, present and past. These are mostly done out of 2019. You see a different range of institutions. You can, if you look closely at the titles, you can start gleaning that GPUs have always been popular in this program since 2019. Most of these awards really do go to a mix of CPU, GPU configuration, sometimes GPU only. Here's one that ended on time, believe it or not, in 2 years, out of Montana. I kind of bold-faced what Zach Rossmiller put in for impact on that campus. Cluster that should still be running, 124 researchers, 500,000 compute days of activity. I'm going to go real quick here. Year 2 of 2020, again, campus compute was the #1 most popular area in CC Star. Long list here, again, a real spread of institutions, small and large. And I think we're hearing from Preston a little bit later. He's on this table. We're hearing from Dan. This is, I'm assuming Dan will talk about this project. It was mentioned yesterday. This award is like a regional compute award before the area existed. So it did cause us at NSF to look at this crazy idea they had and wonder, well, you know, maybe there's something more to this programmatically. Dan will talk about that later, I think. And then we had a 2 deadline solicitation in 21-22. Yet more awards in campus compute. So, you know, you start adding this together, you know, now we're looking at close to 50 awards. I think I've got a number here in a second. And again, just a lot of AI ML driven GPU based systems, not exclusively, but largely. Let's see, this is another example. This is one from the University of Hawaii that might be less than a year old. I doubt this is online yet. But I mentioned that. I think we've got somebody in the room from Hawaii, and they also got a data storage award. And I added this one on data storage. Did I miss something here? I know I'm almost out of time. Let me just go back. Okay. I might have taken out, oh, I put this ahead of. Okay, that's fine. This is a good example of a data storage award, American Museum of Natural History. You know, they, Marone and Frank showed these institutions that are handing out crazy amounts of cycles through the OS pool, sharing those cycles. Syracuse, by the way, is one of them. Syracuse got an award in this program, but they were sharing all those cycles before, and I think would do it anyway, regardless of that CC Star award. American Museum of Natural History is interesting. People don't even think of them necessarily as eligible for NSF awarding, but they are. They've got PhD programs there. They do research. I think they've been a wonderful addition to the OSGA family. And in addition to a compute award, they've got a data storage award. This one's interesting because it's an OSN platform, but they're still interoperating with OSDF. Someone will explain that to me, I think, when they figure it out, how that works. But this was a new solicitation last summer, 2 new areas, only these 2 areas in that special solicitation, right at the very end of the fiscal year. We squeezed it in. This is what came out of that on regional computing. Sean, you're in the room, you're in a war, and then these were the initial data storage awards. Some of these are not OSDF. Some of these are specific to the Open Storage Network for their shared data fabric. And then AMNH, as I showed, is kind of a hybrid. Okay, last slide. Hopefully end on time here. We're still busy making awards on the March deadline. Looking forward to the September deadline, which is I think exactly 2 months from now. Based on previous experience, we'll get more proposals in the second deadline. I counted up to last night, I counted up 49 campus compute awards that we've made in Area 4 to date, and 7 regional. That includes a few that have come in just this summer. The 12 data storage awards is included with a few that have, I think a couple that have been turned on this summer. Yes, we will come out with another solicitation. When we decrement the planning grant area, that might be a signal that we might be wrapping things up in this program. I think as long as we have a planning grant area, you can expect us to have a future solicitation as a target for those planning grant awards. We're always looking for ways to broaden participation. I would argue 2 of the 7 areas are all about that. I will mention the Minority Serving CI Consortium as being, I think, a pillar and a prism through which a lot of our larger activities that we fund, this one included, can be leveraged to broaden participation across the MSI communities. And as Marone mentioned yesterday, I agree with him wholeheartedly. I think we have, we're in a good place. The project is in a good place. OSG is in a fantastic place with OS Pool now to accelerate adoption and use by users on these campuses that have received awards from CC Star. I'll stop there. Thank you.